We're live. Okay, we're live. Hey, and welcome to the Comix Experience Graphic Novel Club, Graphic Novel of the Month Club. This is our March pick patience with young Mr. Dan Clowes here. Yeah, good book, right? Yeah. All right, this is one of the better ones too, I think. Really liked it. So, how am I going to start? I'm going to start this way. I wore my culture. 1994 tour, which I so I don't know if this makes me nostalgic. I'm not quite sure.
Very thin line.
Yeah. So
teetering toward the.
All right. But still, 23 years ago you were here, so we're back today, and I think this is cool. I mean, we've both been in Comix a really long time, and I just wonder. That's how long that was. Yeah. Isn't that? That's nuts. It's insane. It's insane. See, I have employee clearing level. That's the really terrifying thing. But how's it intriguing?
It's a blur. I mean, I thought that must have been like 8 years ago. I'm like that everything. Sitting at his writing board. So mirror. Oh my God. I mean, really, drawing comics, you can't remember. You just remember the books.
Yeah.
Where they used to go. Just
right. Well, you know, when we started, as an alternative called cartoonist, it was. I mean, the mainstream was always where the money was. You know. What was lucrative, but yet you've outlasted a lot of that at this point. Crushed.
I don't even know what's happened. It's superheroes. I don't remember those. What was that company called?
No, but I mean, are you happy with your career at this time? You know,
happy, to rerun comics.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. That's like the only thing I've ever that I've like had a job.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. And I think it's great that you've put 5 years into this, and it's such a strong piece of work, I particularly liked the way that because you never really told a straight-ahead genre adventure story like this, and I just think you did just a really remarkable job of doing that.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily setting out to do that. I wanted to see like if I tried to write all the things that happen with it, just lost. To see what that would do to sort of the ancillary creativity of the rest, to sort of see if that was going to really come out. Think anyway. And I found that things and everything kind of starts different and it kind of converges mass audio, mass work.
Right.
They all feel like they all part of the same and so it's I may have started I started out thinking this would be felt very much the same.
Yeah. Did the planning involved to stories go, and particularly that just it's the narrative. What's your process in building that story initially? How does it change while you're actually doing the drawing?
Well, I had certain things that I had sort of then you know you get into thoughts and get into story, get to those moments, where that's like fit in the story, setting up the moments that we're starting. And so with this one, I knew that my goal is starting at exactly all those moments in the story. Fluidly and feel not have those moments feel just like that's cool from the broad show that. So it became very much like carrying and it had just trying to place those things in that quite so to kind of get out until you felt those things fall into place now. And now that we're
So how do you put your time in? Like, is it putting a lot of effort up front for a story like this, and then like what's the allocation of resources?
I mean, I wish to God I could just write something off the top of my head, sit down and write that and have that process work that quickly. That's I'm really writing so that I find my just yeah. It just you can do it that way. Satisfy the story at large. So I have to spend more time on it and spend not. I can't work on it all day. If I do that, so I have to kind of like fishing. Trying to look a good one every day and bring something in. It's my idea and have that. Maybe something. It's something that needs and to kind of dig underwater and examine the iceberg under that little area and see more and more and see what you can find out about that story. And you have to just wait for inspiration and just hope it's coming. And you find yourself fighting for a lot of ideas. You're going backwards and stop it. And you have to keep going and hope it's all good. Kind of come together. I'm trying to write a story right now, so I'm going through the process. And I was like, right. So you're drawing. It's so satisfying. Yeah. And just all this stuff, looking up, all this is so satisfying. Yeah. To building furniture. Oh, I made this. But writing when you train somebody. when you write, is it just sort of the plot elements, or you actually do storyboards at that point? Not storyboards, but thumbnails. I usually try not to do anything too much. I remember years ago, sat in on real life art speakers class, and he had this method to do layouts, where you start, you write first layout off the top of your head with yellow marker, and then go over that and fix a little bit in orange, and then go over that in red, blue, and then black. And so I tried that once, and I was like, by the time I got to red, I was like, I hate everything about it. It was just so stultifying. All your inspiration and all this fun is gone. So when I do any kind of sketches, I try to intentionally draw as shitty as possible. I try to make it look terrible, so that whenever, I won't be like, I did it. If only I could do that, do that. That's terrible. And so it's all just jotting ideas. It's kind of rewriting the ideas over and over, hundreds of times, moving stuff out, until you're right at something that feels like every moment is correct. And I know you didn't show pages as they were drawn it, but was there any editorial process? I mean, was like Eric working with you on the plot on right now? Okay. No, I didn't even show it. because he keeps getting asked questions like, "Oh, you're the editor."
Right.
So, well, I got some spelling mistakes.
Right.
I mean, when I'm working on it, I don't want anything, but I want to feel like this is my thing that I did without any hints of anything else. You know, it's all filtered through me. And then once I'm done, and it's all drawn, it's pretty close to being done. I'm fine if somebody reads it, it's, you know, it doesn't make any sense. You know, and I'm sort of ready for that.
Right.
And I would be willing to, okay, work on it. And a lot of times people go, you know, I didn't get what this was in this one panel.
Right.
I didn't get, you know, this one.
Yeah.
I've got to feel like I'm done on some level before everybody else.
It's interesting because I mean everybody has their own working process. I mean, we talk to authors who need collaboration to bring the ideas out the best. I love the fact that you're that kind of craftsman where you just want to focus on yourself, do it, and I think you'll get results. Show that's an excellent approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to take it back.
Right.
It's a only thing to feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's defaults and defaults and defaults. That's the only stage. But sometimes you feel it's
Sure.
That's the only times I've almost quit.
Really
separated issue.
Yeah.
All aspects.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I wanted to ask you about serialization and the difference in working. Because most of the things you've done are serialized fashion. And to spend 5 years, 2 years almost, something like that. There's got to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you're serialized, like I did with that belt store, I could be avoided.
Right.
Now it's done.
Right.
But and it helps to get that to feel like everybody's still reading this, But in a way, it was also sort of hard to gauge. You couldn't tell what people were getting out of it or what parts they like. I'd find myself more confused after I get a response to an issue than I was if I just continued out. In fact, back then, when you want to be honest, we had to get 30 issues every issue. Right. So those people had incredible. And you need everyone's home. So I just read the letters and read it. What's your name? Oh yeah. Obsessed with it. You could cyber stalk them like you could. It was before there's any way to know who they were. You really would. If somebody was really smart, right?
Do you think that young Dan Clowes could have done graphic novels without serialization?
I mean, I don't. When people, young Americans come in, got this great idea for a form.
Right.
I hope we do our really fast, because that's the only way that's not going to be a bad idea. Because you're just going to change so much.
Yeah.
You can see you change chapter to chapter.
Yeah. Sure.
Completely different, the first chapter to the last chapter.
Yeah.
It was 2 years.
Yeah. No, I mean even your patients. I mean, I've read a couple of reviews that like praising the consistency, but it really your style changes kind of dramatically.
So it's more set. But I saved my best. I knew that I didn't want it to take.
Yeah. I understand you do these in 2-page units when you're going.
I did that, but I haven't done it.
Yeah.
But
what was the thing again?
Well, you know, in previous books, it's, you know, starting a single page. So it gives you a little more quick and add a page, you know, if you forgot a scene or something, you know, you might explain, why is this guy, you know, wearing the red shoes on this page, and he's wearing blue shoes, you know, you can have a whole page to explain that. And so to do it in 2 big spreads, it's that a bit, but that's, you know, that's the way I want to sort of a statement. It's like that. It's like, I want, you know, people to read that book and go, oh, I read that.
That's great. I have a few more questions, though. I do want to point out to people on the internet, if you are, we have people watching, right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you have questions, go ahead and type them out, and we will get that. And we'll do questions here. Does anybody have any like Peter's already got his hands on. We'll go to Peter.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that we have 2 Peters that are right to places. So clearly you can hear the questions. If you can't hear the question, let us know, and then I'll repeat the questions. And then questions fills out the conversation. So Peter, go.
Yes, okay. I noticed that the older Jack Marvel I'm the video of Arnold Schwarzenegger we see way out here. Is that deliberate or a coincidence?
No, it was supposed to be cross between Martin and
Sorry. What? Hold on. Give me a second to get a questions here. So, you've gone through a number of different publishers over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You've bounced from Pantheon and D&Q, Fantagraphics. They're all. No, I mean, I think they're all producing really wonderful work. What are the different strengths that you see that working with publishers?
You know, I'd say all 3 of those have been great in every way. Everybody tried to sort of be controversial about, you know, publishers, but there's none. They're all, and none of them sort of fail me.
Yeah.
But you do a book, and all of a sudden, it feels like it belongs to the public. You know, it's interesting. This book just felt like Fantagraphics book. Maybe it's specific. You know, DC reprints, or they did that Trudell book. You know, they've done a few things that, like, they've done reprints and things that just felt like they wanted to be in there. And I just done that completely, and it felt like it was you know, it just felt right there. It just felt right. And it's it's kind of really sad every time I felt it right.
Very good.
That's all.
Very good.
Yeah,
good.
And they've been great.
Yeah. They're great people. I was just talking to Eric because these things they said they're going to start last year, which I was like so excited. Yeah, exactly. I'm just so excited. I know. Oh, man. The thing eventually trying to get an ultras where they could sell it. And it's like, you know,
I was like, yeah, the 3 people, so I mean,
so it's a time travel story, certainly, and you do really well with the genre there, but I found it interesting that the genre it made me think of more was kind of noir and Pulp Fiction of the 50s in a lot of ways. You know, that kind of tough guy.
yeah, like I said, you know, it's Lee Marvin. It's that kind of way. Like I thought from the 70s. Like I got really obsessed 4 or 5 years ago, and I kept wishing that he had done a science fiction movie instead. He would have been great. It's just this angry,
Sure.
you know, guy in the future.
Yeah.
And then I just couldn't even have it anymore. You know, and I kept looking at IMDb. you know, it lists the one that he's got. And so then I just have to all these steps.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened. Another picture of you technical from same technical era.
Yeah. You've done a lot of, I suppose we call them characters, and here we have, kind of a misanthropic character, but almost for the first time he's really kind of justified in that, and it's heroic character, as opposed to an addiction, as opposed to was that difficult? Was that different? I don't know.
I wanted it to be very, very ambiguous. Both and I wrote a little bit not quite how I felt and from really sort of dating him and thinking about his forward. Yeah. That was
it's a love story. It's forward. And not for it's a sort of love story. Sure. Yes.
So a lot of the female characters visually resemble pages. Can you talk about what you gained from that as sort of a technique or strategy?
Well, it was somewhat intentional. It's through his view of the world and it sort of triggering these various emotions throughout. So it was seen as something
You said before you had like 10 big moments that like you really wanted to hold on to.
Yeah.
These like really big like flashes or big units.
No, they were more just small hits. Just the moments. That was the kind of thing that was, as I was writing it, it's sort of like that's going to be hard to pull off. Maybe take out those stories and it really set it up and make it feel right. But I also wanted it to be shocking. So it's a balancing.
There's a lot of criticism have referenced certainly Ditko. I see as much Johnny Craig in here, and
Johnny Craig's on part.
Yeah.
He's always.
Yeah. I mean, just a lot of EC and a lot of. When you look at your influences, how much of it is just, as you say, your DNA, where you just internalize it, and how much of it is, let's go back and look at this again for inspiration or thoughts.
Yeah, it's fun. I used to, especially the early days, I would think, I want this page to have Alex Code, for example, and I would go to have it prompted from my room and just look at it and absorb the lessons of it. Never copying, I hope. Never coming close to what I got out of it, but feeling that inspiration. And now I don't need to do that. Like it's more what I imagine something. So I was trying to imagine those, these big kind of spreads where they drift into infinity, and I'm seeing these are on those movies, imagining those. I could never find anything close to what I was looking for. There's always that machinery, and it's much more complicated. No one's pure light. It's completely different vision. It's interesting, but it's that's what you do as an artist. You're drawing those things that should exist
Right.
already.
Almost your atomic version of it.
Yeah. There's all that stuff.
Speaking about your DNA, do you feel like coming out of the Midwest forms, look at the comics, and I'm thinking of popping apart, that dryness that comes from the Midwest. I was wondering about it seems like the Chicago scene for comics is really deep. And I'm wondering if there's something like about Chicago imagists that you all come out of the same thing.
It's an interesting question. I didn't think about my work necessarily as Midwestern. He's a great influence. I love that kind of really flat and human. It doesn't even feel like human. Things like that. And my grandfather was a history professor at the University of Chicago, and I recently found a bunch of these humorous essays he wrote in the 60s and 70s, and I realized I had the exact same voice for it. And there's these, sort of pretending to be cheerful, but saying these really kind of misanthropic or cynical things underneath it in a way that I found hilarious. And that is me. But I never knew about the imagists as a kid. That wasn't something I knew about until I was probably in late teen. Even though they were around, that just wasn't the stuff I was.
Just out of curiosity, was the political climate basically was that intentional in terms of like how there was some pretty
demagogue taking.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's one of those things when you're working on a book for 5 years, especially. You hope the kinds of things you have running through the background, sort of occurrence in the story, aren't going to be played out or drastically different by the time the book comes. Often write about a world where there's crime in the streets, and then by the time the book comes out, the crime is way down in all the cities, or something, where it feels off. And in this one, it just all came together. Yeah, exactly. So,
I don't think you could have predicted that with anything.
No. And it seems somewhat absurd in the story. This is, I'm pushing reality, but it actually is less absurd.
Yeah. By far.
Yes. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about writing screenplays and ways in which that has sort of influenced your cartooning and your sort of storytelling.
Well, I hope if I did like that. You certainly write a screenplay, you learn to never include anything that's extreme. So you learn to love to get rid of things, and I've learned that. When I first started, certainly doing comics, but also writing screenplays, you work very hard. You write these long scenes. You're putting a lot of effort into it, and then all of a sudden somebody says, you don't like the thing. You just go from here to here. And your first reaction is, but I worked for you. Got to keep that in. Just look at all the work, and especially if you've drawn something, you certainly feel that way. But I've learned to embrace that, and now I love that feeling. Like I can get rid of those 2 pages. That's something I don't know about. I did it in this, but it seems much longer, and just getting rid of everything that I would think was exceptional. I wanted every page to feel like this is hitting something mark that I wanted. So I think it's helping.
Are you doing that even after you've drawn it?
Throwing pages away, yeah.
Really?
I mean, I don't throw them. I didn't actually on this. I didn't get rid of it. There were a lot of efforts in half a page. Yeah, I would never have that.
I was wondering, in writing something that takes place partly in the future, how much of that was sort of speculative, and how much of it was just fantasy and how you found that's really happening?
Well, that's the exact balance. I wanted it to feel plausible. I wanted it to feel the way, I don't know, I always feel like the future is really disappointing always. It's always, you expect it to be streamlined and sort of visually cool in a way that it never is. It's always kind of less interesting than it is, and I wanted to make it a little more visually interesting than I actually believe it will be. You know, I'm sort of showing it's maybe more streamlined focus on it or something, but I think the reality is just a bit more cluttered and chaotic and take so that's the way future tends, you know. So it's definitely a balancing act. Aesthetics and plausibility.
Speaking of the future, I think I saw like a Bizarro Superman in there. Can you tell me about that?
He's not quite a Bizarro, but it's just yeah, I have a figurine right in front of my drawing board. It's like a chalk figurine that you would have won at a county fair 50 to 40 years ago. And Superman is a big company, but it's cheap drawing. So it's like Sean. It's really kind of puffed out chest, something like your it's my favorite suits. And so
Man, let's look at if there's any questions on the internet. Shoot.
So, writing process-wise, have you found, structure-wise, have you tried to write it like a screenplay? Do you just, I mean, what's your, is there sort of a box you try to write it in, just that formal is on you stay on it now? So,
I'm always story that I don't have to wait. I've been here 30 years, and I keep thinking, there's got to be a good in my soul. What's the date? Now, that's not. So I tend to do it under a really chaotic. 5 different pads, drawing pads or writing pads at once, and I write some notes in one and some in the other, and then I read them transcribe them. I try to just put everything that pops into my head for long, and then just spend a lot of time getting rid of it. Percent of that, all I have, just the little bit that I like. Yeah. I've tried writing it like a screenplay and all that, but then you wind up just writing stuff like in draw. You're writing to myself. Yeah, man.
One of the things you use here, which I don't really use in other books that I can think of, is you have and I like I kind of like 7 times the book, and now of course I can't find it when I'm sitting here. You have a caption that's out of bounds. What were you trying to choose anything particular with that, or?
I mean, more I'm trying to choose something on I want you to have that sense of yellow. It's not. I didn't want to be specific. It tracks from it. Specific. You just need to know characters' anguish, loss, or able to communicate, or more likely the other characters not listening. That's all.
Okay.
But my in-laws, of course, there's that space. Give us a mystery. That would be a weird mystery. Did they think of like a comic now where it was just like now? And I don't know what that. Yes.
Okay. How did that come to you? I mean, because it's not a technique that I think I've seen in anyone else's comics.
I don't know if I saw it from somebody or if I wondered if it must have been. Or they come out of necessity, you need a way to get across that. And I used it in the Mr. Wonderful because it's all in his head in that story, and people are talking, his thoughts are witnessing the reality world. So his thoughts are covering up images and covering people. And that was probably the first time.
Do you think that we're still writing the language?
Sure. And I'm never trying to be experimental and do something that nobody's ever done. That's not interesting. And then it comes naturally and fully notice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The total ones.
Yeah. But you don't want to know stuff like that. Sure.
So I have a question. I guess there's multiple timelines, I guess in the end never really happens. I was curious how Jeff was. I think how to do this. Would you ever produce that story?
Can't answer this question because he's proven to be a fraud. Go down that.
We've got at least a little bit here. I think that's the montage right there.
Yeah, the guy who wrote he actually found the source panel for that, which was an old Dracula comic. Those terrible. There's a panel of Dracula doing chimps.
I actually kind of wanted to ask you about that. How was it? The guy in the journal, was he getting it right? Because some of that seemed like he was just pulling it out of his ass.
Some of it was he to step a little too far, but a lot of it was, and I don't know if you've ever seen Frankenstein. I'm sure the guy in this is very similar to that. It's white hair, the two-faced guy with white pants.
Right. Do you remember this kind of something? What were your first comics that you bought?
Or I have a brother and a brother. So I have like a very reading, picking up a fantastic world. It's still sweet. So I had, I all it's all
well, but they're
worth a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
they're well loved.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
and they're about hurt.
Yeah. 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 All right, I'm gonna ask another question. So you were talking earlier. You said that you go to a comic shop every week, which yeah. Go into a comic shop every week.
Yeah.
So
the comic shop.
Dr. Mister. Who are you reading? What do you like? What excites you in comics? Or do you just walk in and like, yeah, that's good.
There's always, not every week, there's always something. Like a lot of the guys, people working for graphics and programs. That people in my sphere of and then, more great reprints and stuff. I have stuff all the time. Yeah. Every week, I try to get something. I really thought at a certain point, I'm going to be done. I'll write everything.
Yeah.
Once a year, that'll be a new.
Right.
But it's never.
No, they're finding these things. Yeah.
The house is overrun.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. Well, I don't have these shelves like you.
No, the funniest part is I have these same shelves at home.
Do you really?
Well, because Warner's going out of business, I'm like, I'll take enough for my house too.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of patients, any thoughts of like what actors or actresses that you would choose for? Well,
That's a very good question. Any thoughts?
Sheila Bush.
Shorts and yeah, it was yes.
How about the back of the room? All you people back in the standing back there. I know you wanted to say something, didn't you have some sort of something? I thought.
Brilliant.
Well, this is set up, you know, like they're all, you know, Sienna, you know. No, they wasn't look for it every day, you know.
Pretty hard question. So how do you use coloring? Like, is that
all the line, every single lettering, every then I scanned it, or in this case, my dearly departed friend Alvin Ventura scanned it. And then I spent a year coloring Illustrator in a way I wouldn't recommend anybody. But it's the way I learned it, so I do it naturally. So, but yeah, that's the writing is 50-50. It's sometimes fun, sometimes not, but coloring is always not fun until you're done, and then it's very fun.
it looks amazing? The colors were fantastic.
It's a book I've done where I set out like with color, and so I had for each page. So
Thank you.
You colored all at the end, you?
That's another thing. And all colors pages and then I had to pages to color. For fun year of my life.
And did your thoughts on how or what you were trying to achieve all
That's
that?
I was a sign. I was literally like lighting the desk and staring at us. So at the end of it, I was blowing up the panels. You know, I have a big monitor, blowing up eyeballs that are printed, you know, not even visible, but I'm coloring the eyeballs, putting highlighting, doing all the crazy stuff. And you're walking around like the city of the world, almost at actual size.
Yeah.
So it's like you're in the world, like in a bad video or something. And at the end, I was dreaming in Photoshop. I was closing my eyes and seeing white colors, and trying to like activate the redo on everything in my life. Wish I hadn't made that phone call. Where's the redo? It was it took a while to shake it off.
It's interesting that you went into that much sort of granularity because I look at the colors and it makes me think of old comics. You know,
that's what I'm going for.
And it makes me think like if this had been printed.
Oh yeah.
The way that they used to print comics, all of that work would be not.
Yeah, I mean, I did some of my early comics when there was color. I did it in the old-fashioned way, which is you do a watercolor on Xerox, and then you have like 20 colors you can choose from in comics, and you write a little code number, and you send it off, and you get it back, and it would just be like just a complete crapshoot. Like you could get anything, just rolling the dice. Oh, that looks horrible, you know, and it was kind of fun because it was just like a force of nature. Just like throwing it out there and getting it back. Oh, this is horrible. But with this, it's like, you know, making it look like an old comic the way you want it to look. You know, which I'm sure
actually
guys ever felt like they were getting it back the way they wanted. I mean, sometimes you see original art and people are writing these little notes, you know, make sure that the background is pink and, you know, Alex told me. And you people just ignore that one.
Right, exactly.
So exact, you know.
Yes, yeah.
So what happened to Adam? Like, did he die? Did he just get like left to die, or was that?
Pretty dead.
Okay. It couldn't really tell if he was still like breathing. So I'm just like. Okay. So.
I'm very kind person teacher.
So I had one other craft question, which I just found very interesting. And you're going to tell me it's probably that you're going to tell me that it's totally random. But this 2-page spread here, page 31, page 32, is different than any other 2-page spread in the book because your panels are all geometrical shapes. It's an inset, basically.
Right.
Reading this page over and over again, I couldn't figure out why this page would be different than all of the other pages.
I mean, it's in the future section where they're all
right.
You have this kind of thing.
Right.
I was trying to just keep it, so that just breaks up the rhythm a little bit.
Okay.
It's nothing. Because I'm switching like 3 tiers to 4 tiers, things like that.
Right.
If you're in a real strict grid where you're being too close attention to that stuff, that's a really jarring shift. So I just wanted it to feel like you turn the page and not necessarily get taken out of it, but it didn't.
No, I really liked this though, and I was very intrigued by the insets and the way that it was changing, and not in like the earlier example there. It's all very diagonal lines, and here it's there's more motion in the panels.
I was looking at some Fredon comics, which are some of my favorites. She would do that a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Peter.
Yeah. So time travel has been constant thing of constant science fiction, and I got the impression from a patient. I had a question after reading patients whether if something actually involved a time travel machine, would you be the first person to beat the inventor to death so that it's with science?
Yes, I think I would. Because I want to beat somebody at that. Looking for an excuse for that for a long time.
And then you could use the time machine and go back and not have done that, so you don't have to go to prison, so you can have it both ways.
I'm sure you're like me, where you're just like, oh man, I could go back and buy all this old comic.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's all I used to think about as a kid.
They probably had like 50 copies of Action Comics #1 on that newsstand.
I do always think, like, if you could go back in time for like an hour in a major city, what would you buy that would be worth the most money? That would be an interesting thing. Or sometimes I collect old catalogs, like old series catalogs. Sometimes I'll look through it. What in here, if I could, would be actually worth something?
Right.
And there's certain years where everything, it's all cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get to like 1978, it's like nothing. Not a single thing.
Right.
Maybe like some Star Wars toy or something, but not really. It's worthless. So it's fun.
It is. But do you think that that's because culture is going the wrong direction in terms of... Oh, okay,
It's going up and down, and it was going in really the wrong direction, like in the late 70s. It really felt like the culture was just going to get so bad that it was just everything was worthless, throwaway crap, and there was such a tiny culture at that time. They were just like the movies, the books, the record. It was all just so controlled. And then as it got in the 80s, it got even worse. And that's, when we were doing our comics, it really felt like we were in opposition to this neighborhood. Now it doesn't feel that way at all. It's like there's a lot of all at once.
Yeah. And particularly comics, I feel is so
Same.
vibrant and insane right now that there's just so much good stuff coming out.
There's so many little worlds that all.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that was comic. And that's what we always felt for.
Yeah. Yeah.
More like movies.
Yeah. Well, except without the money.
Yeah.
For most guys.
A lot of movies don't. Yeah. But we always, we just thought like it would be great if there were all these different kinds of comics that we weren't interested in. It kind of used to be, I knew every single person working in comics. I knew their name. I knew everything that was coming out. I just was familiar with the whole world of it. And that's inconceivable.
Yeah, it is inconceivable. Yeah. As a guy that owns a comic book store who has to do this for a living, I can't keep up. It's not possible. It's literally not possible. You had a question I noticed.
I was going to ask, like, how seriously do you take the rules that you're kind of, how far ahead did you work it out? You just kind of.
I took it very seriously because I knew the story wasn't about that. It was about other things, and I knew that if it didn't work, it would become about that. It would take you out of the story, and I wanted to make sure, at least as far as I could tell, that it worked. It was airtight in ways that had little elegant payoffs and things like that. So that it was satisfying on that level, but it wasn't distracting. So yeah.
How set were you on the end before?
I knew the beats, sort of the rhythm as I got to the end, but I never know the ending. The thing I'm working on until I get there. And you have to.
So in terms of who lived or who died, it was a surprise to you as much as
you have to kind of experience it with the characters. And I mean, I didn't even know until I drew the last 5 pages what was going to happen. But then it feels inevitable once you've gone through the whole process.
There was another one?
I can hear that one. So when I was reading it, I thought the guy in the bus that seems to really. Is that an intentional misdirect, or is that just? It's on page 37.
That bus. No. It's just supposed to show the world that she's going to. He's coming out of that world. The villain character. So he's sort of he's imitating this guy's sort of the real character.
Yes. This almost isn't a question so much as how much I loved him. Where he's handing the guy the $5 bill in 1986. It's the new $5 bill.
It's hard to get that.
Yeah. I don't know if I need to have a question, but just like, were there moments where you caught yourself and thinking, wait, this would be this way?
Oh, I knew 1986. That was the one I felt really comfortable. I don't have it. I'm not always the jerk who watches the movie. I don't have that in there. Dare you? Like, I actually scanned in a $5 bill and used a little ink dropper tool to figure out the color for that weird purple. It was specific.
Found it pretty interesting the past stuff more than. Because the future's a dystopian future, whatever. But that's dystopian past in a way, right?
Yeah. Well, I wanted it like demagogue so we actually used to be So it's like the character's tragedy is personal, whereas culture doesn't have the tragedy for society.
David?
What's next? No. Well, as I said, I'm trying to write a new thing. That process of sifting through the ideas. So let's see how it goes. It's in a very early part of that process. So who knows? It's not going to be 5 years. That's all I'm promising. And I'm not going to color it. If I color it, that's all that. Because
Yeah.
Another technical question, but what do you ink it? Like, do you use a brush or pen and quill or
which during the course of this book were made illegal in the States. There was a trade man from Russia called Lunsky Sable, which turns out that it is actually like a weasel, like a wild weasel in Siberia that apparently there are millions of. They're not endangered at all. And it was just some like, you know, we won't let you import this if you won't let us, if you won't get out of the Ukraine, whatever. It was one of those sessions where it's thrown under the bus. And so I was like, just and I just I bought like 10 of that. Happened every. I was ready to like go in black.
what size brush?
I use a number 3.
Beautiful.
Yeah, do you use a brush?
Yeah, I switched between a brush and penny. Like penny. Although I did find some like really good pens in Japan down that like get a really awesome.
Really?
Yeah, very line quality.
Yeah. Sometimes I use in for built-in lines. I bought a box from like 1930 from like posts of the great ones. That those are like really cartoons. So can I have one of those? No. They're your time.
What other shy people have questions that just don't want to raise their hands, but I know you have a question? Any of you?
No.
Or don't? That's fine. Just try on your notes. Dave, go ahead.
Do you think you might ever, in the future, collaborate
He's there.
Oh, there you go. Hear your voice.
with any of your peers? You know, like Gilbert Hernandez and Darwin Cook just did a book together.
But I don't believe in collaboration. I really think to me all the best comics are done. One person filtered through their sensibility, for better or worse. Not like necessarily like technically the best comics, but the ones I'm interested in. It's the only way like one person can communicate one-on-one with another person this way, you know, with this kind of visual experience. And that's what I really treasure and want to do. Also, I'm going to work with me. Yeah. I tried.
You know, one of the things that struck me about your work over the years is that you've gone from a lot of your craft being kind of up front on the page to being more in the background. Like I was looking at some of the stuff from the old balls here. Just a lot of cross-hatching, and you're drawing a lot of attention to it. In composition.
Yeah, I was insecure. I mean, that's I knew how to do those techniques pretty well, but I didn't have the drawing down. And so it's like, oh, look over here at this little pattern, and don't look at that drawing of a car. And at a certain point, you have to face that and go on the other way. Now I'm trying to not do fancy thinking techniques like that. Not trying to, unless it is appropriate, you want to really draw attention to something that's standing out from the rest of the book. But I'm not just doing that to obfuscate, which is really a lot of what that's about. Although I don't think that's invalid. When I see young artists doing that, there's something meaningful about those lines. It's not just that.
Right.
It's loaded.
Well, I would also
look at my old drawings see the stress.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he's trying so hard to get it a certain way.
Yeah.
And there's something really great about that.
Yeah. I would also think that part of developing your style is just going through these things and finding out what works and what doesn't work, and bringing those things into your style without it, you know.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't ever think of a style.
Mm.
I think if you're aware of a style, or I'm drawing a style, that it's going to be really trite, but you should try to drawing the way you think the world looks or want it to look, or trying to get across a more true visual experience than drawing in style, and then your style will just happen. Styles are like signatures, just something that's there. Sure, I can look at terrible early drawings I did when I was 14 or so, right? That just look nothing like anything I've done now. You can see there's a certain way the space works. It's, you can tell if I showed it to somebody who knew my work and said, "Hey, do that," they would figure it out. Just, there's some part of your brain mapping that you see the way spaces go together.
Sure, sure. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I noticed that pop culture has a great influence on your work and themes. I was wondering if there are particular periods of pop culture that you find more fascinating than others.
I kind of find them all interesting. I'm always looking for whatever feels sort of like powerful, electric, captivating in each era. But of course, I'm drawn to the pop culture, and before I had formed my own thoughts, the crazy world of my childhood. I grew up in a really odd time in American history where when I was born, it was 1961, so it was still really the post-war era, as everybody started living in the post-World War II world. And then by the time I was 8 years old, it was the hippie world, and just the culture shifted so drastically in those 8 years. I can't think of any other time that's happened. So it was not to seasickness. So always kind of trying to get a foothold in whatever culture.
Is there anything that you think pop culture that you find interesting?
I like the TV show Murders.
Do you think that that pop culture and art is changing because it's maybe less ephemeral than it once was? When you and I were growing up, certainly if you didn't watch a television show, that was it. You probably never got to see it again. Right.
No, it was precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And there's so much less of it, too.
Yeah. No, now that I can see a movie at any time, I don't make any great effort to. And I can remember movies that I didn't even think were going to be that great, but I knew I wasn't going to get a chance to see them again.
Right.
I would stay up like on a school night till 3 in the morning, like set my alarm, go and watch some ridiculously bad movie and have that experience, and like 2 of my friends would have that the next day, and it would just feel like we own this is our movie. Nobody else was up at 3 watching this in all of Chicago except for and it had a real magical feeling that it was fun, so available.
I used to have an audio cassette player. I would tape shows sometimes just to have a chance.
I would do that too. I would listen to an old friend. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
That's like literally like having your only entertainment looking at patterns and wallpaper. It's inconceivable.
It really is. Yeah.
I was going to ask, what is a question that you wish people would ask you about your work that they don't know?
I don't wish people would ask me. Perfectly happy keeping it all to myself.
Well, that might be a good place to end this. remarkable work. This was worth 5 years of your time. I guess that's the only thing that I can really say, you know. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And I want to remind everybody that next month's or this month's book club pick is 5,000 Kilometers a Second by, I'm sure I'm going to mangle this, it's Manuel Fior, I believe, who we're going to talk to on April 27th. He will, because he's in Paris. He'll be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to talk to us, so we have to be really nice to him as a result. So that'll be next month on the 27th. So I hope you guys can make that as well. I think that he speaks some English. It's gonna be fun. And it's gonna, I think it's gonna be fun. So and if you haven't picked up the book, you can pick it up. We don't have the book plate yet. It'll be sometime next week, I'm told. But we'll get it to you as soon as we can, and we'll start shipping these out once we have the book plates. So, this does, yeah. You signed them all.
Yeah, I just want to see how it looks.
Oh well, no, I didn't. This copy does not look.
Where do you put them on?
Yeah, there.
Oh, nice.
Just like that. I like. You know what I really like, Dan, is I like the fact that you guys don't really know this probably, but he signed them in like 5 different colors of Sharpies at least. You know,
I went through the Sharpies.
But it was kind of cool because because usually every book plate looks exactly the same when I'm putting in the books. But I was having fun going, oh look, it's blue. Oh, it's silver. Oh, I want that one. Wait a minute, that one looks really nice. So yeah.
I once had a thing where I just signed 100 or 200 something, and I put a funny nickname on every single one. And then the publisher was like, you know, kept all the really funny ones and just sent them all the rest out. So I know can never do something.
Did you start regretting it like 150?
After 3.
Well, awesome. Thanks again, and we'll see you next month. And thank you all.